It's the Bulls Podcast, episode 31.
Hey, Chicago Bulls fans! It's time for your Bulls Podcast. Here are your hosts, Marcus Couch and Wyse Black.
Welcome to the Bulls Podcast, coming to you from bullspodcast.com. This is where we bring you the latest news, reviews, rants, rumors, and opinions on the players, coaches, and front office of our Chicago Bulls. My name is Marcus Couch, and with me is my co-host, Mr. Wyse Black.
Yo. What's up? What's good with all my Bull lifers out there, man? So, we don't have much longer to go, y'all. I'm talking about the draft because that's pretty much all I'm waiting for at this point. But for now, man, we got a show to deliver, so let's get into it.
Oh, yeah. We got a lot in store, including the Bulls versus Portland Trail Blazers post-game. That game just ended. Some absurd rumors that the Bulls are going to be trading for Anthony Davis. What the heck? We'll find a little bit more about that. We've got some potential free agents. We've done some scouting here. This week, we're going to have the point guard edition on some guys that we can watch maybe the rest of the year and see if they might be a good fit for the Bulls. And we've got a preview of upcoming games with our win predictions. Come tank with us. We'll be right back after this quick timeout.
Bulls fans, remember to follow the show on social media at Bulls Podcast and at bullspodcast.com.
All right, we are back and celebrating episode number 31. There are a number of former Bulls players that sported number 31. We got Jim Fox, Bill Hewitt, John Laskowski, Sam Worthen. I don't know any of those guys. Granville Waiters. I do know him. This guy was so fun to watch. He was with the Bulls from 87 to 88. So, right when I think that's the year that they picked, I think Scotty and Horace were already on the team by then. He had like this, they called him the old man because he had this kind of hairline that was way in the back. He just had the crown, This is before Michael trended it to shave your head. Yeah. And I'm so glad he did. Thank you, Michael. Now I don't have to explain myself or shave my head. So Granville Waiters, he was a classic. He was not too bad either. He was a bench guy. Brent Barry, we had in 1999. He's the former slam dunk champ. Norm Richardson, Roger Mason, Thomas Gardner had in 2008. Eric Murphy in 2014. I kind of remember him. I think he was a center, tall guy. And then these two, R.J. Hunter, we had last year, and Jarrell Eddy from last year as well. So I don't remember either one of those guys. I'm sure they were
them?
Here and gone. Who's that?
I said, you gonna count them?
How many of them there are?
I said, you gonna count them? Talking about.
Oh well,
RJ
I will
Hunter
count them. Yeah, they wore the number. That's all I can say. Better than what I've done. True. Right? Got to give them props. And in this day in Bulls history, I was actually watching this game. This was one of the most fun. 6 years ago today, the Bulls ended the Miami Heat 27-game winning streak. The game was actually one of the best games from kind of this Nate Robinson era, as I like to call it. Boozer had 21 points and 17 rebounds. Carlos Boozer was a beast. Nate had 14, nearly equaling the entire Heat bench single-handedly. It was a game like this game tonight. Joakim Noah was out. Derrick Rose was out for the year. Marco Bellinelli was out. Rip Hamilton was out. And so Luol Deng, Carlos Boozer, Taj Gibson, Jimmy Butler, who didn't even have crazy hair yet. He had just the plain, nice trimmed hair. And Nate Robinson took over the game, stunning LeBron, D-Wade, and Bosh, and ending Miami's nearly 2-month-long winning streak. I remember this. This was big news back then, too.
I tell you, man, that definitely brings back some memories, some nice memories for me. Thibs, D-Rose, and the crew, although, he wasn't even playing at that time, but it was just still something special. The Bulls seemed to be the only team in the league that wasn't intimidated by that LeBron, D-Wade, and Bosh Heat team, and it showed every time they faced off against them. a nice number of the games during that LeBron Heat era, the Bulls actually won. And to this day, man, I still believe the Bulls would have beat the Heat in 2012. The year D Rose went down with the torn ACL injury. The Bulls, they were coming off of a loss to the Heat in the playoffs the prior season. And to me, I think, man, they really seem to be a lot more focused and just primed to take it all, because they continue to be the Heat's toughest competitors, and the Bulls were leading in that 2012 playoff series before D Rose went down. So I mean, I just really appreciate all of the guys from that era that contributed to some awesome moments for me as a Bulls fan.
Yeah, wasn't that the same year that Nazi Mohammed pushed LeBron over? Remember that?
I remember he was on the team.
Yeah. It was a playoff game. I'm pretty sure Nazi got fouled pretty hard, and he got back up and hit LeBron with a nice chest shove. And I remember LeBron flopped at least 20 feet back.
Oh, of course. Great. Of course.
Nazi, not one to lose his temper, but that was a pretty funny instance then. And unfortunately, though, we don't have the same kind of classic fond memories of a shorthanded team conquering somebody that's headed to the playoffs, because the Bulls versus the Portland Trail Blazers played today. And let me just read off these starters. I called it the Trash Brothers. I think we got the trash team now. The starters were Shaq Harrison, Antonio Blakeney, Brandon Sampson, Wayne Selden, and Robin Lopez. Now, here's the Bulls actually called up two-way players. We already called for this last week, remember, to bring up Rawle Alkins and Brandon Sampson. But the thing is, man, these guys had a playoff game tonight against the Knicks G League team, and they lost that game. Why? Because they pulled two guys up to play for this stupid game. So they lost. Windy City Bulls are out of it. It was a one-game playoff game, and they lost it because they got these guys pulled. Man, that sucks. You want them to compete. Don't pull them out of the one-game playoff game. Jeez. So the final score, 118-98. We got trounced by 20 points. Really not much to talk about here except the great play of Robin Lopez continuing. That's been a nice positive. Shaq Harrison actually added 21 points, 10 rebounds, and 2 steals for the Bulls. And they were playing against a pretty good Portland team. And considering what just happened the other day with Nurkic's injury, did you see this injury? This gruesome ankle break?
Man. You know what? Like, I didn't even watch the game, but I got the notification from Bleacher Report.
Yeah.
And I clicked on it. And when I looked at that, oh my God, that was worse than Gordon Hayward's almost, or it mirrored it. Like that was just so nasty, man. Like I couldn't even watch it twice. I was done after I saw that.
Yeah, that was a horrible thing to see.
That could potentially end his career.
I know.
Oh my goodness, it looked like it was his shin. Was that his ankle or shin?
That was his basically his bones broke right above his ankle.
Oh my goodness! Yeah,
like the tore his damn foot off, man. Jeez,
praying for Nurkic, man.
That was gruesome. So yeah, he basically kind of shattered those bones and part of his ankle. I think this is like probably as gross as Gordon Hayward's injury, and maybe not Paul George when you see your whole damn leg snap in half. That's pretty bad. But that was as bad as they get. So he'll be out at least a year for full recovery. And you got to really feel for Portland because they're going into the playoffs without one of their leading stars, who was one of the breakouts this year. Got to feel bad for them. Even our buddy Cristiano Felicio actually got some playing time, 15 points in the game. And they pulled Rawle Alkins, obviously, from that playoff game. And guess what? He got 2 points in 16 minutes of play. Boy, that was worth it.
I mean, yeah, that was it sucked. It really sucked. But I mean, look, the first thing that really stood out to me is how big of a hole the Bulls have in terms of lacking size right now, especially if they don't re-sign Rolo next season. in that case, we'll only have 3 legitimate bigs on the squad in Laurie, Wendell Carter Jr., and the Brazilian marshmallow, Felicio. So we're super small right now, which can be a good thing, I guess, in certain instances because of, the NBA turning towards being a positionless league. But you still want to have the option to go big. And when we lost Bobby and Jabari, we lost some big man depth. So obviously our rebounding suffered tremendously outside of what Rolo did individually. But also the Bulls just lacked legitimate talent out there. I mean, 4 starters were out, and we even had 2 G League call-ups playing nice minutes. So that really tells you how shorthanded we were. So, I mean, I wasn't surprised at all by the turnout. So I really just looked at this game as an evaluation one, between the Bulls' main role players like Wayne Selden, Archie, Shaq Harrison, and Felicio, I guess. But Shaq, I thought, played the best. He put up, as you said, 21 points and grabbed 10 boards and looked like the hardest working guy on the court most of the night. So for me, Shaq, as I mentioned in one of our older shows, deserves a contract next season. He plays the 1 and 2 guard position, so it's not like he log jam us. And I just love the intensity that he plays with. So yeah, at this point, we're just waiting for the season to end and I guess determining who deserves a shot next season.
Yep. All right, let's go over some of our predictions that we had last week. This was not a hard one to pick. We picked Bulls versus the Utah Jazz. We both picked a loss. We got our wishes granted. We got a loss there. Last Tuesday, the Bulls actually played the Toronto Raptors. And that I thought was actually a semi-decent game. It was okay, but we got what we were asking for. We both got an L. And Wednesday, today's game, Bulls versus the Portland Trail Blazers. Both of us called for an L, and we have nailed our first perfect week of 0-3.
I think it was our easiest week, too.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a no-brainer, all 3 of these games. So, I mean, hey, we got what we wanted, 0-3 record, which I don't think it would have been I don't think it would have turned out any other way because a lot of our guys are down. So, it is what it is.
That indeed. So we have our predictions coming up at the end of this show, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And stay tuned with us right now because we're going to take our first break of the show. We'll be back right after this. Hey, most of you guys are getting the show on Apple Podcasts, also known as iTunes, but if you don't have the Bulls Podcast on your sub list yet, just go to bullspodcast.com/Apple and it will forward you right to our iTunes listing. If you are subscribed, we would appreciate a review since it does help out with the ratings. You can give us a 5-star, 4-star, or even 1-star. But hey, man, be honest. Tell us what you like, what you don't like about the show, and help bring new listeners to the Bulls Podcast. Again, that link is bullspodcast.com/Apple to get the show on iTunes. All right, we're going to talk about this rumored Bulls trade for Anthony Davis. Now, granted, this is just a rumor, but I don't know. We're going to talk about what we would have to give up and what exactly we would get in return. So this rumored trade totally depends on where the Bulls land in the NBA lottery. If we ended up with the number 1 pick or the number 2 pick, I don't think this is going to happen. If we somehow get screwed and get down to like 6th, 7th, 8th range, this trade might work because it does involve our current first-round draft pick. Here's the trade package, Wyse. Lauri Markkanen, Zach LaVine, and a 2019 first-round pick for Anthony Davis. The primary focus of the Pelicans in dealing with Anthony Davis and dealing him to another team, they said, quote, "We want a younger player who has the potential to become an all-NBA performer." And that's both Lauri Markkanen and Zach LaVine. And you never know. That's quite an offer there. LaVine averaging 23.8 points, 4.6 assists, 4.5 rebounds, shooting about 47%. Not too many people have hit those kinds of numbers. We're talking everybody else that's hit those kinds of numbers are all-stars. Marketing getting more than 18 points a game, 8 boards, and 2 threes, which only 9 other people have previously done that. 8 have been all NBA selections, and the 9th one, Antoine Walker, is a 3-time all-star. Legitimate questions of whether Chicago would offer this much, especially when there are whispers that Davis doesn't even want to come to Chicago and play in his hometown, of no less. But if the Bulls decide to gamble, they would actually be the ones that have the strongest poker hand at the table. What do you think about this trade proposal?
Oh, man, let me think. I mean, all right. See what I think everyone forgets when it comes to like trading for an all-star or superstar player is that usually you have to give up most of, if not, all of your best pieces, which would leave you with only one good player to rebuild with. And in the Bulls' case, we aren't a free agent destination, maybe in large part because of our front office. I'm not entirely sure. But not only that, superstars usually want to play with other great players as well for a legitimate chance at winning a championship. So if the Bulls were to make this trade with the Pelicans, giving up Zach, Laurie, and this year's pick, I think if it were like number 1, meaning Zion Williamson, because I think that's the only way the Pelicans actually would go through with it. But at least I believe. But you give all that up and leave us with AD and a couple nice pieces in Otto and Wendell. So, I mean, look, sure, the Bulls may make the playoffs and maybe easily, but I doubt they get far. And due to that, and because I believe AD really doesn't want to play in Chicago because he wants sunshine, palm trees, and to be next to another superstar, he leaves us the following season, and we're back where we started in terms of the rebuild. Now, I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm just being real and giving my honest opinion on how I think that trade could potentially turn out. Now, sure, it could go the opposite way too, meaning AD stays. But, I mean, look, how many of you truly believe the chances of AD staying in Chicago are higher than him leaving in this trade scenario case? Now, if we sign him as a free agent without having to give up anything, I could see him staying, obviously. But again, how far-fetched does that seem at this point?
I agree, and I feel the same way. I think it's too much to give up. You're giving up your 2 best guys plus potentially your 3rd best guy that comes out of the draft if we get a top 3 pick. It doesn't seem right. And plus, Davis has got now. I'll tell you this right now. If it wasn't Anthony Davis, say it was Giannis, yeah, I'd do it. Heck yeah.
Of course.
But
of course.
No, I don't think I could make this one work. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to talk about potential free agents to watch for. And this week, we're going to talk about different point guards in the league, and we may be reviewing a number of other different point guards as time goes on. This is the biggest hole right now in our offense, so I thought it would be fitting for us to introduce this topic to the show. There's a lot of free agents that are coming into the market after this season ends. You've got guys like Utah Jazz standout Ricky Rubio. You've got Darren Collison from the Pacers. You've got former Pacer Jeff Teague, now of the Minnesota Timberwolves. He's going to be hit free agency. You got Dragic of the Miami Heat. Those are some of the big names out there. But there's some off-the-radar guys that could help our bench and maybe even come in as a starter for extended times if needed. So these are going to be kind of the best budget-friendly potential targets, guys that are probably in the year 2 or 3 in terms of the league. So they're really not going to command that big a salary, and they're not starters, and they're not huge standouts. So the first one I want to talk about is Malcolm Brogdon, and he is with the Milwaukee Bucks. He's right now out with an injury. He's got plantar fascia tears in his right foot, and it'll be interesting to see how he performs when and if he comes back in the next few weeks during Milwaukee's playoff run. He was initially scheduled to be out only 6 to 8 weeks, but the Bucks have moved him out as an indefinitely coming back. So no news on when he's going to be coming back. Here's where he is in terms of his game performance. He's got about 187 games under his belt. He's played 64 this year. This year, he's got a 15.6 point average, rebounds 4.5 per game, 3.5 assists a game. He shoots 50% from the field and 42.6% at 3-point range. His free throw percentage is like 93% right now. He's got an effective field goal percentage of 57.5. That's pretty awesome. The guy's been in the league 2 years. Right now, he is 26 years old. He came out of Virginia, and he is 6'5", 230. Pretty good build. He is a shooting guard and a point guard combo as a right-hander. So that's not bad. He's a restricted free agent this year, which means the Bucks can match any offer that he gets out there. But he might be the perfect bench player, actually, that can back up both our number 1 and number 2 guards. Or he could be a starter if we can't get a good point guard out of the draft or somebody like that. He's right in the range for points, field goal percentage, threes. We're all looking for all of that in terms of that kind of production. So I think he's played a little bit more shooting guard than he has point guard, thus the 3.2 assists. I think it put him at the point, and he's obviously going to spread out the offense, especially with guys that we have now, and feed him the ball. So first, Wyse, I'll get your reaction to this guy. What do you think of Malcolm Brogdon?
Man, I absolutely love Malcolm Brogdon. If we could grab this dude, he's a Rookie of the Year winner. He's a very efficient offensive player. He's a big guard that can play multiple positions, as you mentioned. He doesn't make many mistakes. And he's very exceptional on the defensive end. So, yeah, I'd be all for signing him if we had the chance. I think he probably asks for more money than I'd be comfortable paying him to pry him away from Milwaukee because they have a good thing going over there. But if he was, reasonable about a contract offer, and I also think it would take some help from the Bucks if they were to try and underpay him, because I believe it's a contract year for Middleton as well. So if that were to happen, if that were the case, I think, he would be great as a starter, actually. Or, I don't know if we were to draft Morant or whatever the case may be, or get an even better point guard, he would be decent coming off of the bench too. Probably especially off of the bench, because that would give us great depth there too. So it's obviously a definite yes for me.
Yeah, I think I'd like to get this guy as well. There are a couple more here I got in the list. We're going to talk about next Thomas Satoransky. He's a native of the Czech Republic. He may be remembered by Bulls fans as the other guy that Bobby Portis knocked out last year, if you recall. Last season, Portis forced 2 of the Wizards guards to leave because of injury in the game. He first knocked out Tim Frazier, who had to leave because he took a knee to the head. I remember that. And then he got hit by a hard foul, and Portis knocked him out of the game. He had to leave with blood pouring out of his head. Portis got ejected, all of that. It's pretty funny because Portis plays with him now. And right. I looked at this article that came out of the DC papers where Portis was basically saying, hey, man, I didn't mean to hurt him. Where have we heard that before? So since John Wall actually went down and John's out for the season, Satoransky's actually kind of been running the show in his place. He's played in every game, averaging 8.8 points with 5 assists while he's shooting 49% from the field and 40% from 3-point range. His salary would be very cap friendly, and we could get another quality guard that could play 1 or 2 coming off the bench. We can window shop this guy actually next week because he's going to play us when we play the Wizards next Wednesday. What's your thoughts here on Satoransky?
Yeah, man. I think we can always use more shooting, and if nothing else, that's what he does very well. Especially, if we could get him on for the cheap, as you said, why not? Now, I mean, I haven't seen much of him, over in Washington, but looking at his numbers, this dude would definitely contribute to this Bulls team. Now, I don't know what we would do with Archie in case we do draft like Morant or Garland and still have Chris Dunn on the roster. But, I mean, in either case, I definitely welcome Satoransky with open arms.
Nice. All right, we're going to then talk about Delon Wright. He's from the Memphis Grizzlies. A couple weeks ago, we actually managed to get forth a potential deal that would get Mike Conley to join the Bulls. But the other guard worth noting is Mike Conley's backup, which is Delon Wright. He is a true point guard, playing in 67 games so far this year, averaging 8 points, 3 rebounds, and 3 assists as a reserve guard. He's got a 43% field goal percentage, but only 28.8 from the 3. He just actually came off a monster game, and he had 18 points, 13 assists, 4 steals, and 3 rebounds in 35 minutes, where they beat the Oklahoma City Thunder 115-103. He started in place of Conley, who did come back tonight, actually, and he finished with a career-high assist total while matching his career-high in steals as well. He's reached double figures in scoring in 3 straight games while combining for 27 assists across that same stretch, and he's snagged at least 2 steals in 6 of the last 11 appearances that he's had for Memphis. What do you think about Delon Wright joining the Bulls?
So when I listen to statistics for Delon Wright, because I haven't watched much of him on the court either, but what I vision when I hear what he does basically mirrors Chris Dunn, a big defensive-minded point guard that can't shoot from deep. So, no, I'm not opposed to signing him either. But if Chris sticks around, it would just be redundant to have him on the roster. And heck, even Shaq Harrison fits the mold of a Chris Dunn type of point guard to me too. So, the only way I'd sign him is for insurance purposes if Chris Dunn leaves and because, he is a big guard that plays defense. But, outside of that, I don't really think that we need him.
Yeah, it's interesting to see what these 3 point guards may be doing. So we wanted to bring them up to the light so that you guys could see exactly who they are while there's still a little bit of season left. You can maybe do some scouting of your own and some evaluation of these guys. So we're going to get to see at least a couple of these guys during the last few Bulls games of the year, and one next week, actually. So wanted to bring these guys out to the light so that you guys out there, the listening audience, can take a good look at them, see if they might be good in a Bulls uniform. All right, we'll be right back after this quick break, and we'll come back with our predictions for upcoming games this week. Hey, everybody, remember, we are a new show, and we do need your support in social media. We made it really simple to find us with some special redirect links. You can find us at Bulls Podcast on Twitter, on YouTube, on Instagram, and go to bullspodcast.com/Facebook to get tied into our Facebook group. And if you'd like to subscribe to the show, we are on Apple Podcasts at bullspodcast.com/Apple, on Stitcher, bullspodcast.com/Stitcher, and on Spotify at bullspodcast.com/Spotify. Okay, we're back, and we've got 3 games from now until the next podcast. We're going to start it off with Saturday, March 30th, Bulls versus the Toronto Raptors again. Wyse, what do you think? How are we going to do in this one?
We're going to fare the same way we did the last time we played Toronto, obviously with an L.
All right, I agree. Put me down for an L as well. April Fool's Day, Monday, April 1st. Who's going to be the fool in this game? The Bulls at the New York Knicks. What do you think, Wyse? The Knicks. Worst team in NBA.
Come on, man. No brainer. The Knicks are going to take an L. We can beat them.
All right. We got a dub. Dub for you. Dub put down for me, though. You never know, man.
I was about to say, man, looking at how they look today, we probably should pump our brakes. They had Wayne Selden starting at the 4.
Yeah.
Come on, man. So I don't know. But I'm still going to say W. I'm still going to say we beat them.
I do too, and I think that's going to be Felicio's best game of the year.
Hopefully.
Against DeAndre. All right, Wednesday, March 3rd, the Bulls at the Washington Wizards. Are you guys sick of seeing Portis and Jabari Parker yet? I am, and they don't even play for us anymore. So this one, what do you think? Dub or L? In Washington.
because we have so many guys out, it's going to be an L. Otherwise, if we were, fully suited, I think we could beat them, but they're going to beat us.
All right. We are both in agreement, 1 and 2 for the week, with the win being the New York Knicks. If the tank gods were nice to us, they would actually let the Knicks beat us, but we'll see. We'll see if that rings true. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. We will be right back and close it all out. And I want to remind you, you can call the Bulls Podcast call-in line at 312-239-8586. You can find this show on social media at Bulls Podcast. You can connect with us everywhere we are. Also, remember to check out our compilation website where you can get this podcast and all the other cool Bulls podcasts out there. Just head on over to bulls.fm. Wyse, you can follow him on Twitter or on Instagram at radical_creator. And if you forget any of this stuff, you can go to our website, bullspodcast.com. We've got links to everything we've mentioned in today's show. Wyse, closing thoughts?
As always, people, we appreciate you guys for supporting the pod. We love you as fellow Chicago Bulls fans, and we would appreciate it if you guys shared the pod on social so we can continue to grow as a community. But other than that, be well, Chicago. Peace.
Until next time, thanks for listening, everybody. We've got I didn't even get my tankathon number down. Actually, it's 10 more losses, and we are only 86 days away from the NBA draft, and that brings us to 54 days away from the NBA lottery. Until next time, thank you for listening, everyone. Go Bulls!
Go Bulls!
Hey, Bulls fans! This is your Bulls championship announcer, Ray Clay, saying, so long, everybody. Go Bulls!